that's the thing though,
No,
because
Freddie.
he was putting this forward as an argument for about why the slaughter of the Amalekites and all the rest of it wasn't a terrible thing, and why taking young women who have never known a man as captive but slaughtering everybody else wasn't a terrible thing. It was actually a charitable thing to do.
Lovely. Yeah.
Right,
because
because
these virgins had lost their husbands in war and needed to support their children. And I just, when you see somebody, he was reading it from Numbers, and he read it out from the King James, stumbling all the time, and you just knew that he wasn't picking up the meaning. And then he came out with that load of tripe. And I thought, so this is his argument to justify that passage. How does that help anybody?
Oh my goodness gracious! You guys waste all the good material before we go live. I do like that, catching somebody mid story and then saying, "I guess what the live light's on." So this is what we're doing. Welcome everyone, whopping 38 viewers, and understand a lineup to get in and join us in the conversation here. Let me try to introduce us. I think people who watch Hangouts on my channel will know my preferred format is a one-on-one conversation with somebody, and then sort of let the people trickle in to sort of stay on the topic or topics that were raised with that one person. Occasionally, I throw one together like this where it's just completely topic-free. Having said that, let's see. I want to say something about the style of the Hangout tonight. I want to say most of you had either seen and or participated in tonight's TST. I want to ask again, was Christianity defeated? Did anybody finally come up with a thing that defeats Christianity? No.
I beat it. I came in at the end. Stabbed it in the heart. I died.
Yeah. There was once again another TST goes by without any attack whatsoever on Christianity or the Christian faith. Yet another, let's say, gossip-focused episode talking about the sort of annoying idiocy that goes on amongst a group of people. I find it interesting, I will say, of TST, and I'll get back to the point I wanted to make here. I get a lot of criticism lately. In the last few months, I've had Rand Campbell take me aside and say, "Hey, you seem like a nice guy, you're obviously a smart guy, but I'm getting, how did that happen? I just don't know what's going on here. Why did I turn my camera on? Oh, by the way, Dave S. Get in here. Apparently, we're looking for Dave S. Someone was in contact with him. I didn't talk to him today.
He's over there.
He's what?
Yay!
There you go.
Oh, here. Well, then come on. There's 12 people in here with mods, and somebody just hit everything myself. Oh, thank you, someone. Thank you, anonymous.
He who controls the spice controls the universe.
Did somebody just
I don't even know what.
Hogtie, you mean?
How is that even possible? Why are you allowed to do that?
I don't.
Now we
Greg,
know.
I don't know what to make of that image. I love Dune, but I hate basic bitches.
Yeah.
But I also love basic bitches, and I also love Dune. It's so much.
Oh, you know what I missed? Muad'Dib. Oh, pumpkin spice. I'm getting that now. And I'm old enough to get that reference. Was that guy ever that young? You should take a picture of him. Look at what he looks like now. Oh my goodness, derailing. You guys derail. I see why Dee gets upset when people interrupt him because you my throat here.
So has Christianity been defeated?
Christianity been defeated. Yeah, I get a lot of criticism like that. I get a lot of, "Wow, you're a nice guy and you're obviously smart," but you hang around a bad influence. Actually, TST is referred to as a bad influence. I feel compelled to point out to people, I'm 47 years old. I don't get influenced a lot. Hanging around with the wrong people doesn't make me think, oh, I might try smoking just a little bit of marijuana just to see what it's like. Like, I'm not at that age anymore, so whatever.
Yeah, he smokes a ton.
He
knows what it does.
Look, stop it.
His immunity is built up over the years.
Stop it. I've admitted this already. That everybody knows my drug resume is very, very, very short. There's only one product I ever had. I'm sure I've smoked my own weight in weed, but I stopped. I didn't quit. I stopped. And I'm like so many other people who just got to an age that just went, why am I doing this? And was it because
I know what you mean.
Yeah. No, you don't even run out. You just like, that's enough of this. You just quit doing it. I mean, I started quite late too. I wasn't like a high school weed smoker. I went to school, and maybe the bad influences when I was in school, but who cares? Apparently, it's bad for your memory too. What was I talking about? So TST.
Ram Campbell was well, you're being told off by Ram Campbell for associating with the wrong guys.
He was the he was the first guy to kind of point out to me, oh, it's bad influence. And I kind of resonated because it was the first time I heard it, but I've heard it many times since. I mean, I know G-Man has gone from liking me just fine to not liking me to now outright hating me, and his stated reason is just this the bad influence. You're well, sure, you say this, but then you're on Tuesday, you're going to be on Tuesday, and he gets all upset about Tuesdays, right? And I get a really bad reputation for being on TST. And I will point out, I'll say, look, TST isn't about attacking Christians or attacking Christianity. It's about attacking idiots. And immediately after I said that, they'll say, but you're always talking about us. You know, me and true empiricism and Nephilim free. And I was like, okay. If you want to call that charge. Yeah, you don't ever get arrested and start talking to the police without a lawyer, because that was the stupid thing. Just confess to the dumbest thing, but whatever. So yeah, TST, a lot of energy tonight. I figured we'd open up another room, again, sort of topic-free. I have sprinkled mods by lottery, I will say. So those of you who didn't get it, don't be offended. Those who did, try to act responsibly. The theme or style tonight, as I'd mentioned in a recent Hangout, is backyard barbecue. Talk about whatever. People are going to interrupt. People are going to agree. They're going to disagree. But let's try to consider this little film strip here is sort of the buffet table, you know. So keep it moving. Keep it moving. If you
want 2 scoops of Dragnoth. Sorry.
What is
nothing? I just said I want 2 scoops of Dragnoth.
2 scoops of Dragnoth.
You said it was a buffet.
I think I've been corrupting you, Hogtie, because I've been complaining for the last year and a half about your appallingly nice behaviour to these obnoxious people, tolerating true empiricism time and time and time and time again, and other people. And I think finally I've managed to move you a little bit towards the TST, I suppose, point of view, and that's obviously that's got to them.
I will let you take credit for that. No contest is what I'll say in response. So I will encourage you to take content.
But in some ways I feel it's bad. I feel as though you were naive and nice, and I've now turned you into a horrible, well, not horrible, but a realist. In some ways I'm not sure. I'm pleased about that, actually. I
just love how you always approach this like I just started kind of like, oh, I'm new to Hangouts and YouTube and stuff. You don't realize I've been part of the Great Debate before it was called the Great Debate. Like, we'll get into. I don't want to get into too much about it, but about what I used to do on YouTube before anybody ever knew what I looked like. But no, I mean I've known the doofus crowd for quite a while, and it's what I have is a style. And the thing is that I think that once the Hangout started, to where there's so much face-to-face interaction, that you only have so much on reserve, only so much niceness on reserve. Again, I want to be clear, as I said the other day, there's nothing artificial about it. I know when people say, "Oh, you fake being nice," I just go, I don't even know what that means. I mean, I guess I know what it means to fake being nice, but when you pretend to be nice, that was the phrase that I don't understand that. Again, it's not the Hogtie show. It's just, so the barbecue thing, yeah. So this is sort of the buffet, because there's a lot of people. As soon as I opened it up, there were people coming in even before we went to air. I'm getting comments on Plus and through the live chat. I haven't turned on Skype yet, but I will do so. Unlike G-Man's tech savvy, I do know how to have Skype running at the same time I have a Hangout. It's not that complicated. Especially doesn't he have like 3 computers now, 3 laptops? He just can't struggle through that. But I am getting messages from people that they're trying to get in and they can't. We have been trying to get Dave S in. We've done that successfully, so let's give him a moment. But I want to say, if you find that you're sort of like lingering and having a conversation in the buffet line, and other people are trying to get in, don't just linger in the room, right? If you find that you're not talking about something or the topic disinterests you, leave. You'll get a spot back later. We're just going to try to keep people, the panelists, moving along fairly quickly. You know, if you got to step away from your computer for a while, you got to take a poop or whatever's going on, please don't just hang out here, because there are other people who do want to get in. I thought I had one other thing to share, but I'll just interrupt you all when I know what it was. I did post a note about people getting in. I do want it to be sort of a free flow, come and go as you please, except as is conventional amongst a lot of Hangouts hosted by us. I heard somebody state this rule the other day, and I remember, boy, it's such an accepted rule that I think we forget to repeat it. If you, as a viewer, are a topic of conversation, then you get in the room. We will find a volunteer to step out, and you get to come in. So I think we've been forgetting to announce that lately because that's just such a standard thing that if we're sitting here, I imagine that Dee Dee's name is going to come up if he wants to come in. That was a bad example. If hey, we're talking about Dave S. and look, Dave S. is here. So yeah, let it be free flow for now though, because Dave S. was discussed. And he didn't really get a chance to sort of bring up his stuff. Can we just let Dave S. have the spotlight just for a minute? You guys can beat up on him for a while, and then after that, go back to... You guys wasted so much good material. Before we went live, you were talking about neat stuff and laughing your asses off. And sorry, audience, but you all missed it. Dave S., how are you doing? How's your mom, Karen S.? I saw she'd written a really good thing for Matt Slick lately.
She's always wonderful. Yes, hopefully I can get you all laughing again because... We're talking about everyone's favourite person. True Empiricism, obviously, has done a response to me. Okay, the problem I have with this is twofold. Number one, I said I didn't want to do a response to a person. Okay, I'm sick of these responses to people, and yet what did he do in his video? He found a clip of me in one of my videos response to him, and just kept showing the clip when he was talking. So not only did he not respond to my actual content, he found a clip of me to make this even more personal than it was before. So... bravo there. And like I say, I don't appear very often. I think I've appeared 2 or 3 times, so he had to hunt out for that one. So, but yes, basically, the response, if one can call it that, is it's quite a sight. If anyone's seen it, it's Antonio's. Bless him, Antonio. He tried his best to be the best parrot he could to what True Empiricism has already said. But to be fair to him, he did mention there was a link in the description box so you can watch my video. He said watch it for the context, so I've got to give him credit for that. Something True Empiricism has yet to do with me, but yeah, I guess I'm intrigued to see other people's opinions because obviously I've got my opinion. I know what I said. I know what I thought I said, but I'm intrigued to see if anyone has any thoughts about what the entire saga's been about.
Oh, I have.
Yes, Sam, I'm so British.
I've got one thing to say. One thing to say about the response video that you got. Bah ha 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 ha.
Pretty much.
That's it.
When Dave first shared that video, I'll be serious for a minute. Actually, let me stop screen sharing then. If I'm going to be serious. So I saw the video and I said, you know what? This is probably one of the best videos to kind of, I guess, quantify the ID argument, because every time we talk to a different believer, it becomes more and more nebulous. At least to me it does, because it's kind of like some of them are playing high deity, and the other ones are playing, well, it's not science. It really depends who you talk to. So Dave, when you approached it, you say, all right, I'm not going to make this personal. I just want to lay out the argument. And one of the things that, at least for me, I saw that you wanted to put it out formally so it's less nebulous, so it's something concrete that people can sink their teeth into and address from a logical standpoint. Now, I went and I looked at some of the comments that people made. It's like, oh, no, we don't ever put any other arguments in any kind of logical format. Why are we doing it now? Well, for 2 reasons. One, True don't speak the English too well. So one of the things that, putting it in a logical form does is make it clear to whoever is going to view it. Because, quite frankly, if I were to take any of the transcripts that any of us made and give it to someone outside the community, they would think True is fucking stupid, which he is. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
What Dave was trying to do was give him a leg up and say, all right, here, let me translate this, which he did in the video, into something a bit more, comprehensible. So we can, really just go at the arguments point by point. And I kept hearing True say for the longest that it was an abductive argument, then it changed to a different type of argument. And I want to say you addressed the ID argument on 3 different levels, if I'm not mistaken. Feel free to correct me.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so far.
Yeah. So, and that's what I really loved about it. And then you offered a critique to each of them, explaining why they really wouldn't work. So what I wanted to see from True was saying, you know what, Dave, when you offered this critique, of this particular argument 2. That's not that second premise that you offered. That's not my premise. Here, let me correct you on that. Let me address it from a premise that is closer to what I actually believe. That's what I wanted to hear from him. But no, he made it about this personal thing, and then he brought me into it. He brought Hogtie, he brought Fiona. I saw all kinds of pictures there.
Yeah, what is with that?
What do you do with it?
He's got that graphic that's got like the talking heads, and he's got like all these people in the corners, including me and my penguin. Like, what the hell? I don't know.
And all of the images are distorted, but he distorted mine, so it actually looks half decent.
Oh, I look even thinner than usual. I'm long and thin, aren't I? So.
He's got to learn how the aspect ratio thing works when he's doing video editing. It's a penguin, Fiona. It's a penguin. What do you like? What did you think it was?
Has it been intelligently designed?
Yeah, no, okay, hold on. Drag made an excellent point. Something I wanted to add to. But what did you think it was?
Well, you see, I've been wondering about that for quite some time. To me, it looked like a toilet seat.
What?
Come on. I know she was 4 when she made it, but it's a delightful penguin. The only thing that happened...
It does look a little bit like a toilet seat.
There's a little too much glue on this one little wing here, so it's curled over, and now it looks like the penguin's giving me a little, hey, it's hogtie, check it out.
Excellent. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but I think I apologize to my daughter.
We've been having the drama of the toilet seat for the last month or 2.
It can tear a household apart.
Oh, totally, totally. The hinge broke on it, and so every time one of the males of the household goes for a wee, they run the risk of getting their member
the guillotine. The guillotine.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say, I'm over 6 feet tall, so I'm clear of the guillotine. Oh, actually, wait a minute. I have to show it the other way. I'm too tall or too short to not.
Yeah, but it's the parking problem. That's it. It's the parking problem.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I don't know. Drag made an excellent point, something that I wanted to echo so that people don't. It's a great point. And then we're going to talk about toilet seats for a second. That's not the worst thing to happen to a toilet. Worst thing that can happen to a toilet seat is if it ever gets just a split, just a thin little hairline crack, so that it's closed until you put weight on it. Then it opens up. It opens up. It opens up. And then as you start to stand, oh, bang! That's awful. No. We'll have a segment on the broadcast for toilet seat woes. Drag started that by saying, well, here's Dave who's saying, enough with the drama. I mean, there's lots of drama. We're going to have drama. That's fine. But me, Dave S., I would like to actually say something about this issue. And then he set forward, this is not this recent video. This is the second most recent one. And then again in the recent one. And what Dave S. does, he says, yeah, I know there's lots of drama around this, but just can I make my video, please, about the actual topic? And then he goes on to talk about the actual topic. Unlike what True Empiricism does consistently when he does a video, and he does it in his Hangouts too, he says, I don't want to talk about drama. All this drama. The atheists in the drama. I don't want to talk about drama. But anyway, here's what happened. And then, boom, he's into the drama. And then does it absent actually addressing the issues.
But drama is just... they're correcting me for being wrong, or they say I'm wrong and I'm not wrong. That's drama.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, he really does personalize it. He really does. I want to go back to again. We should have the titles of the video handy so people know what I'm talking about instead of having to keep doing this with my hands. Not this last video. So there's Dave S.'s video. This is earlier in time, and then the penguin would indicate forward in time. Dave S.'s video, and then Ronnie's response to it, and then Dave's recent reply, and then now Ronnie's replied. And Floyd asked to come in, and then I guess he had to poop, so he left. I would like, Floyd's got great stuff to say. He had great stuff in between the two shows. I hope he comes back after his poop.
It was the conversation.
Like,
it was the toilet seat, and I need to go.
Can we see that Rational Matt is in the side chat, and he's offering an argument for intelligent design, which goes P1 code, premise 1, code is always the product of intelligent design. 2, DNA is code. 3, conclusion, therefore DNA is intelligently designed. That apparently is.
I've heard
that.
Yeah. That's not new.
Yeah, I have. I mean, yeah. Okay. Well, I just want to get back to what Dave's saying. Yeah, Ronnie really does personalize it. Was my point. I mean, it's certainly Matt. That's great. Hannah's welcome, Hannah, who's recently called the. I guess some
Hello.
people are calling you the female hog tie champ.
Yeah.
You man
Quite
objects.
flattering, really.
Yeah.
Why did she leave a comment that was 482 lines?
Was that what it is?
Oh.
Not too much. Yeah, pretends to be nice. So I just want to. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys do your thing. So yeah, about the drama. Yes.
I just wanted to quickly say, because somebody was saying the T was stupid. I don't actually think he's. Yeah, I wouldn't call him stupid, unless I was feeling particularly generous.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we visit that debate once in a while. What's his intellect level, and I mean, whatever it may or not be. He obviously struggles in some areas, but he's not the dumbest among them. But his thinking is poisoned by this.
Yeah, but I'm taller than a midget, hog tie. Like that's the problem. That's the problem with perspective. I'm 5'9". I'm taller than my dad, but I'm still the second shortest person in my family. Like,
how does that relate to the first premise?
Non sequitur. Come on, guys.
Non sequitur.
Formal argument.
Because his DNA melts in water.
I think the reason that true empiricism is perceived as being a lot more idiotic than perhaps he is because he tries to do so much more. I think I've discussed this before, and therefore the difference between what he tries to do and what he actually achieves is actually rather greater than, say, G-Man, who doesn't, he will say things like evolution is false or something, but he doesn't try and develop an argument for it and then fail. So the difference between his ambitions and the reality is quite small, whereas with True, it's actually quite big. It's like, if you ask someone to build the Eiffel Tower, and they think, I can build an Eiffel Tower, and they ended up with a shed, you think, you bloody idiot, but someone who couldn't build a shed would be even more. His
ambitions overreach his grasp.
Yes, that's right, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it, he does pass him off as the sort of answer to everything. Philosophical argument, I can do that one. Scientific argument, I can do that one. Yeah.
Well, he does have some stuff to say that sounds sort of reasonable. I think that once he starts talking about that, well, I could get into depth or I could go into detail, but I can't because these people understand me because I'm, then he just comes across as a clown. I mean, that's just clownish. But when you just have, I mean, I've had conversations with him, just sit and talk like gentlemen, and he comes across as a reasonably intelligent person. I don't necessarily have problems with that. I think his thinking is very polluted by this disguised creationism, right? I mean, he's a evangelical. He's definitely a creationist, but then he's got this. Well, instead, I'm going to pick up this pattern of intelligent design because it's easier or harder. I don't know what the hell he thinks it is, and then he spins this yarn from, as I say, page 268 of a book that he found at a bus stop. So it ends up not making him look as smart as he could be smarter than that. But I did want to sort of reiterate my point that we don't derail Dave S's point here. The thing that kind of annoyed me about, so Dave S made a video and then Ronnie's response to it, and then Dave S made another Ronnie's response. But going back to that earlier response, it didn't matter what Dave S said in the first video because Ronnie said, well, here's Dave S, and he's saying that there's no argument, and he's saying this and he's saying that. Well, what he's really trying to say is, and let me psychoanalyze him. This is why he wants to say this. This is what he's trying to do. And the phrase that halfway through Ronnie's video that just got to where I went, no, that's it. There is no point in sitting down with a video editor and producing your thoughts for Ronnie's digestion, was when he started saying, well, here Dave S is playing dumb. Dave S is playing dumb. I've challenged Ronnie on this in a Hangout when I said that was ridiculous when you just said, well, he's playing dumb, he's playing dumb. Here's a guy who came to you and said, like, I have some thoughts about things you've been saying. Yeah. And you just go, oh, he's playing dumb, he's playing dumb. Like, that's fucking childish, right? And Ronnie, instead of saying, well, yeah, I mean, let me explain to you why I said that, but I sort of see why that would come across. No, he doesn't say any of that. He just goes, well, I think he was playing dumb. He was definitely playing dumb. And, of course, he doubled down, and double down is doubling down again. And at that point was when I just went, putting 10 seconds of work into trying to communicate something to true empiricism is an absolute waste of time. Having said that, Dave went ahead and made another video, but I'm not his mother, so.
I mean, Dave, did you make another video?
Yeah, the video I made. I made two videos, so how not to argue for intelligent design and how to argue for intelligent design.
Oh, yeah, you made two. I was wondering.
Hey, yeah, Hannah, for sure don't echo.
Sorry, Hannah, you were echoing, and so I'm
super echoing.
You started to talk.
I was just going to quickly say that the thing with Dave is, even though he's talking to TE, well, he's not really. He's making videos that are generally giving out information, and I think they're useful videos. the fact that TE is going to take no notice because he's a plonker is
Well,
a side issue.
I would just
for
like
me,
to.
it's not.
I'm going to do something horrible here again and defend true empiricism. I'm afraid. I know I had a discussion with Dave this before, but the reason he called Dave dumb or other people dumb and not knowing his own, because I think in some ways he's got some justification for this, because all he's ever argued is that intelligent design. Intelligence is a necessity for certain things. He's never presented the material needs or the physical needs to combine with that. He's just said, in effect, I know he hasn't put it in quite as concisely as I have. Things like bits of biological mechanisms, that intelligence is a necessary condition of these things, just as it's a necessary condition for building a turbine or whatever. And so I think that's all he's ever really said. So getting involved in this material thing and this fallacy division, I think, is I don't think that really is relevant. Anyway.
Well, to be honest, it's no longer relevant because he's not arguing about that. He's now arguing about intelligent agents rather than intelligence. So the fallacy division's now been resolved because it's not. The fallacy before was the fallacy of having an incorrect premise. That old fallacy, that old chestnut, and now he's corrected that and said it's about intelligent agents being the most likely explanation because we observe intelligent agents producing motors, turbines, and codes, and there are motors, turbines, and codes inside a cell. That was his argument, or that was the formulation of the argument that I extracted from him saying. Intelligent agents are only observed producing certain patterns. Now, obviously, that's again factually incorrect. I was being charitable, saying, "Look, that's factually false." We've not only observed intelligent agents doing X. It's like me saying I only eat, a pizza. That's factually incorrect. What he means to say is, the only instance of X is Y, rather than we only observe X. So I said, right, I'm going to be as charitable as I can and say, look, I'm not going to dismiss this as false first premise. I'm going to say what you're trying to say is this, okay? But then what I said and what the problem I had with him before, well, I said the problem. The good thing about true empiricism in the past, and Hogtie, you can probably back me up on this, is true empiricism had no idea how to quote mine properly. And in the response that he did to me and Hogtie when the whole racist issue, he didn't know how to quote mine me. So basically, he showed a clip the 2-minute clip of him trying to embarrass me, in which he showed a 2-minute clip of him talking and me using about 9 words. So at least he's learned how to quote mine me because he actually removed the part of the video when I said why I'm reformulating the argument. So I said, strictly speaking, it's not a deductive argument, it's not an inductive argument, and it's not an abductive argument. And I said it's poorly constructed, ill-formed, and I can't remember what the phrase was, but basically saying, like, strictly speaking, it's just a collection of 3 independent assertions. Let's put it, let's call a spade a spade. It's three independent assertions that isn't actually an argument. So I said, so if we interpret in this way, this is why it's wrong. If we interpret this way, this is why it's wrong. If we interpret this way, this is why it's wrong. So ultimately I was trying to say, look, it's not an argument, but we can interpret it as such, and this is why it fails. And so what did he do? What did I say that he couldn't do in my first video, the how not to argue for intelligent design? I said, you can correct it, but one thing I asked him to do was not just say straw man and leave it at that, which is exactly what he did this time. He just said, that's not my argument, straw man, and then showed the Gene Wilder clip of me, I lose, that really
You lose. That was, oh my god, that was the worst thing about that video. It was just, it was just, straw man, and then that clip with Gene Wilder, and you lose, like, really, oh my god, like, he wasted his time making that video, and he complains about this. I'm not going to waste my time. At one point he says, well, I could correct the many mistakes that Dave S makes, but
two funny things about that. The funny thing about that, of him saying he's not going to waste his time, J.D. Kane did it. J.D. Kane, as he calls him, did a comment. Shared my video and said, a gem from Dave, and then True Empiricism said, I'm 2/3 of the way through editing my video, or something like that. I'm like, so it's about 6 minutes long. So he got to 4 minutes into it, which is bollocks all of actual content, and he got to that point and right, that's my work done for the day. I'll finish the last third tomorrow. It was like, how long did that? It must have taken even less time than it actually was. But the second funny thing is, he accused me of doing a drive-by. I can't remember what the point was. I think it was about the deductive argument, saying it's a non sequitur, and I didn't back it up. What did he do in the exact same video, and Hogtie just alluded to it there? Well, I could respond to all the things of everything that's wrong with it, but I'm not going to. If that's not a drive-by, or attempted drive-by, saying there's loads of things wrong with it, but get Gene Wilder on there. and the fact he's so unaware of his own what's just happened. Like I was going to do a video where all the times that he's either projected or has been like hypocritical over the last however many years, and I just thought just show any of his videos, and almost within any video you'll see him contradict himself or behave in a hypocritical manner. I love the fact within a 6-minute video he did that, and it's incredible how he's so blissfully unaware of his own shortcomings.
Yeah, it was a puzzling thing. I'll say, and I don't know what's going on here, but I'm getting messages that apparently the broadcast has just stopped. I'm going to refresh the broadcast on my end.
Okay, for those of you watching, you might have to do the Alt F4 refresh and get back to us in a second.
It stopped for everybody that's watching.
Yeah.
It's buffering for me. You know, that little circular thing. That's all it's doing.
Yeah. So it's not hold times.
I don't know. I don't even know. I've never seen that before. But I mean, it's everybody from different countries that are saying they're not getting the feed. We're having good, like, low latency communication within the room. The viewers all of a sudden went down to 18 viewers. So somehow even though the live light is on, it is just disconnected from the YouTube streaming service. How weird is that?
Okay, check your channel real quick. Your account.
What would I check?
Oh yeah, how long have we been on air?
Not very long.
Thanks.
About 40 minutes.
I was just randomly checking another video that seems to be working.
Oh, wait a minute.
fine, so.
TST finished about 10, 12 minutes past. So it's been about 25 minutes.
Well, just looking at the PVR, yeah, it's running for 29 minutes.
Right, so it's not that.
And it's still moving.
Oh, hang on.
You know what?
It's
Actually,
just come back to live. It's just come back to live.
Yeah, I think it's
and
back.
I'm getting messages. It's back. So
yeah.
now I bet you people are going to be treated to 4 minutes of us talking about how. Oh, I wonder why the feed's not working.
Yeah.
There'll be a slight delay.
Oh.
Yeah.
So they missed some of Dave S's explanation there.
Just move on a little bit. You'll be right.
I'll do an Antonio echo what was just said then, but no, I think the thing for me is that the reason why I wanted an argument was twofold. Number one, no ambiguity.
Sorry, Dave, can you just put a pin in that for a second, just to clear up the technical thing? So don't forget what you're going to say, because it's certainly interesting. But just it seemed we did get messages, and it wasn't just people in this room. It was, and we were able to communicate with each other fairly well. But then people from various countries around the world just all of a sudden said at the same time that they weren't able to see the live stream. And then now, like, I've refreshed the page and it wasn't working, but then now I hear our conversation from about a minute ago. So I think that there's about 2 minutes of our conversation, which was mostly us wondering what do we do in a situation where YouTube just isn't streaming. But people in the audience now are going to be listening to about 2 minutes behind. But that's okay. Just to repeat the announcement.
I'm just glad you didn't claim I hacked the room.
Oh, that's how I came to learn about it. Was that somebody said Hannah the hacker has taken down your channel? That was the message I got that said that's how I know that. But they weren't clear on whether it was you, Hannah, or the other Hannah the hacker.
We're both the same person, really.
Did we want to cover what Matt Bell has just been offering as a deductive argument that proves ID? This business about DNA, all code is written by an intelligent designer. DNA is a code, therefore DNA is written by a designer. I don't know if he claims that's a deductive argument he offered. And this one that Trim Prism offered was bollocks, and his is great. I think we should do it.
Okay, but I did ask Dave to put a pin in it, which was implying that I would want Dave to finish his point. So yeah, we can certainly do that. I do see Ruef is suggesting that there is actually. I mean, if Ruef's got time to come in, I do kind of want to ask him about his ongoing discussion with discussion with true empiricism. I know the chromosome 2 thing came up the other night with somebody. Like now, Ronnie seems to be avoiding discussing chromosome 2. He just simply, poop. Somebody in the live chat asked me to say poop. That was about 3 lines ago. So they're just they're asking. They're just trying to assess how bad the lag is.
Yeah, he was so reluctant actually, Hogtie. When I was going to have this debate with him about 2 months ago now, and we agreed to have a date that got mixed. There was a bit of mix-up on days, and etc. etc. I actually offered to say talk about human chromosome 2, and he actually didn't want to talk to me about it, and would much prefer to talk about just ID in general. He was actually reluctant. So in other words, he'd already been hurt, I think, by the rebuttals that he'd already been subjected to. So I'm not at all surprised that now he's still wishing not to talk about it.
Well, it's the thing. I sort of get someone's point if they say, well, look, the last 4 Hangouts have been about this same topic, and I want to sort of keep moving through topics. I don't have a problem with that, except in his case, it comes across as so patently evasive. Especially, I'd mentioned in one of Steve's Hangouts, I had just, for some reason, on the weekend here, I re-listened to Bring It Evolutionist number 6. I listened to that first hour again, where the wonderful part where Ronnie's insisting there are plenty of these telomeric repeats, what Ronnie calls telomere repeats. I don't know what that is. But he says, well, and Ruef is saying, well, where are they? Like, CRISPR's outside or in the live chat saying, hit Control F and then type TTA GGG. And show us, and then you go, well, just use your mouse, select one of these repeats, and then Ronnie selects something different. I mean, people should watch, again, go back and find the first hour, Bring It Evolutionist 6, and sit and watch it. Don't just listen to it while you're doing the dishes. Sit and watch it, and you'll just be, not so much the first half hour. When I say the first hour, I mean sort of from the 25-minute, 35-minute mark up to the hour where they're talking about these telomeric repeats, and you'll just be baffled by, is this what Ronnie thinks good conversation is? And then how there's so many other people in the room, like Veckel's in there, Antonio's in there, that King Matthew fellow's in there, and none of them seem to have any radar for wow, Ronnie's really not looking super smart here, but he's really pushing hard. Ronnie was just like a drowning man, just flapping and flailing. Now I noticed since that time, Ronnie has come out and said that he accidentally highlighted the wrong thing. So Ruhif has posted a comment something like, well, now that you've clarified that mistake, how's about we do a hangout here and then you can just show me what you were trying to show me. Now that you know what a telomeric repeat is, so let's do another hangout to discuss this. And he's not getting responses to my knowledge from true empiricism. But going back real quick to that was one of the episodes when Ruhif was in there and they were talking about these things, and then Ronnie just booted him. Ronnie booted Ruhif, not because Ruhif was swearing or making insults about Ronnie's mom or just Ruhif was just talking. Ronnie says, well, it's pretty obvious you don't even read these articles that you bring in. You're just making this stuff up. You're citation bluffing. And he comes up with all these very vague things about how Ruhif doesn't really understand what he's talking about. So he just ejects Ruhif from the room there was no warnings or saying, well, here's what the problem is or whatever. And he says, well, I'm going to go get a snack. So I think it was Antonio has mods. And then CRISPR says, okay, well, here's what I wanted to say. Well, Ronnie actually jogs his ass back to his computer to say, no, I don't want to hear from CRISPR anything about chromosome 2. The whole chromosome 2 topic is now banned in Ronnie's Hangouts. Why is that? It doesn't come across as well, look, we've had enough talking about this. It comes across as patently evasive when you're demanding evidence from people and they're coming in and they're describing the evidence and, I'll do you one better. I'll screen share the evidence. And what do you get for screen sharing the evidence? You get Ronnie looking dumb and then starting to boot people from the Hangout. And then now when somebody else comes in, if they want to talk about that same topic, he absolutely will boot them. So sorry, we had David.
That's the creepy part about it, though. He's running to defend himself or to interject something. Meanwhile, people are trying to have a normal conversation, and normal conversation does happen when he's not in the room. But God forbid you mention his name or question him or anything like that. He comes running like a bat out of hell to defend himself against nothing, really.
I will say David's been holding that mental pin for a while, so I want to go ahead and say what he has to say before he forgets.
Yeah, I totally derailed him, but yeah, go ahead, please, Dave.
It's too. I guess it's not that important, but the reason why I wanted him to present an argument was 2 reasons. Number one, so it's not personal. We're not attacking him as a person. We're not attacking the nature of him. Whether he's got credentials and so on. It's just impersonal. So literally, we can all look at it, and it's something that he has to put on the table for everyone to see, and then defend that argument. Okay. And then I think the reason why he wants to do that is because he wants this never-ending, moving of the goalpost. So we can't pin him down, because if we refute his abductive argument, then what has he got left? Now the thing is, you know, can hands think? My girlfriend's just reminded me. That's his brilliant argument of can hands think to Fiona. And ultimately, I think the reason why he doesn't want to be pinned down to an argument, even though he's made it a million times before, but I love how he thinks that everyone knows his argument. I noticed Cliff Stamp did a comment to True Empiricism's argument saying, oh, True Empiricism's obviously been using this inductive argument the entire time, so Cliff clearly hasn't been paying attention to True Empiricism, or he's not quite the communicator that he makes it seem to be. But yeah, the reason why I wanted the argument was because I don't want to deal with True Empiricism as a person. I'm not going to his Hangouts. He's said twice that he wants to hang out with me. This is my public announcement to say, True Empiricism, I'm not going to be in a Hangout with you. And the reason being, there is nothing that I can say in a Hangout to you that I've not said before that you've not responded to. So there you go. You can have that for free. So yeah, the reason why I wanted him to have an argument was to say, look, defend this argument. I'll even give it to you. Defend that argument. You don't even need to worry about making a valid argument. I've made it for you. Just defend, you know, premise 4 and premise 6, I think it was, of my argument. And instead he responded to a deductive argument that he doesn't even believe in. Sorry, I think
you'd be better off actually in a Hangout with him, because expecting him to read through your argument is actually probably more than he's capable of doing, whereas verbally, where you can sort of interact with him on a sort of moment-by-moment basis, probably has a slightly higher chance of him actually interacting with you and more successfully.
The problem with that is, though, that he will just do his weird ramble thing that he does, where he just starts spewing out buzzwords,
gibberish, yeah,
that don't actually address the issue at all.
Well, I remember with the discussion I had with him, I said, I mentioned the fallacy of division in the Hangout on his channel, and then basically I explained what the fallacy of division was, and used the example of the Boeing 747 flying across the ocean. And then I think Hogtie pointed this out during the Hangout, saying, his response was, okay, you hit on a lot of points there, which then he responded like, no, 1 point, fallacy of division, that's it. So even me explaining it as simply as possible, in the simplest possible terms. Now granted, the abductive argument isn't the simplest possible terms, okay? You need to understand, you probably don't have to watch my previous videos about the resurrection of Jesus, confusingly enough, to understand what Bayesian epistemology is and what prior probabilities are and all that fun stuff. So I get, and someone put the quote on, a comment on, I can't remember if it's his or Antonio's video, I think it might have been Antonio, saying, look, what I'm presenting isn't straightforward. It's not as if, like Matt Bell's argument is incredibly simple there. You know, it's very simply, you know, the first argument I alluded to in the Fiona and True Empiricism Hangout, saying all instances of X are Y, you know, B is an instance within Y, therefore, you know, whatever, you know, so it's all information, or all codes is the result of intelligence. Now the thing is, you can do that. Most ID proponents don't use deductive arguments, so, you know, I basically try to spend the most time on the abductive side of it rather than the deductive, because obviously that's incredibly difficult to defend, and inductive because that's part of the abductive. So I think the point that I was trying to articulate was, or that I think people sort of came home, the take-home message was saying, look, Dave has just presented your abductive argument, the argument that you've claimed, or abductive reasoning that you've claimed so many times but never made explicit, and then explain what's wrong with it. And yet instead of responding to that, he ignored or cut out the part of the video where I said the reason why I had to reformulate it, just claimed straw man, and responded to an assertion about the deductive argument. So yeah, the entire problem I had with the exchange is that he's trying to make it as personal as he can. Hence why he's doing the video of me rather than responding to the content of it, and he's just trying to drag it back into this personal, you know, us versus them thing. And it's like, no, argument on the table, stand by that argument if you dare, you know, if you can, and if you can't, well, abandon it. But obviously, is he going to do that?
I'm also not sure how your arguments could have been straw man arguments when you weren't stating this is what he was saying. You were stating, I'm not sure what he's saying, maybe these are the things he's saying.
Yeah, it's never strong to ask for clarification. Sorry, and it's Dee's turn to talk. Just so you know, a little bit of just a technical note here, and I have to step away for a moment. So you guys got the room. Oh, I was going to mention about the barbecue thing. You don't need to eject people. Obviously, there's some people that are totally ejectable, but you can generally hide from broadcast, and I'll deal with it. I'm sort of listening. I'm listening while AFK. So there's some discussion in the live chat and in the side chat in the room here about some hangout that Ruhif and who. What's this? Ruhif versus TE off air, and apparently there's a video of it available, and some people are trying to post links, but not everyone's authorized to do that. I just bumped Christopher Hitchlap so he can do that. So somewhere in there, there's a link that people are trying to post. I'll tell you the video ID ends in the letters capital A, lowercase I, and then the number 0. So I think that's the one people are trying to share. I've not seen it. I don't know what that's about.
If you get a chance, can you post it in the external chat? I'm on a mobile device right now, so I can't see the live chat.
Yeah, I don't know where. Yeah, I can do that, and then I'll step away. And apparently our feed is frozen again, so I don't know what the heck's going on here. Copy, and I will post it in the external chat. But what I'm wondering, Ruhef has.
I've already put it in the external chat.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
But sorry, the other thing is, Ruhef has been asking for the link, by my count, 7 minutes now. And actually, he just now advises me that it's full. So let's
You want me to drop?
Let's vote someone off the island. I won't make that request, but yeah, just.
I'll go. It's fine. I'm on a mobile device and I don't have much to contribute other than what the fuck is T doing with his life. But that's just me. Anyway, talk to you guys later.
Why didn't we just start with that, and then I could have just saved myself the last half an hour of anyway.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. You know, I forgot what I was going to say.
That's okay. No one's watching us anymore anyway. Apparently our feed is off the air. I think one way we can tell is if you watch the viewer count in the bottom corner, we're back down to 17. I mean, there's 4 or 5 dozen people that have got the window open right now watching the show, and yet my viewer count shows 15. So I don't know what the heck is going on, but when you see that...
No, sorry, my mistake.
Yeah.
I thought it'd come back to life, but it hasn't.
Yeah,
it's still dead.
Yeah, what'll probably happen is people say, "Oh, I can't bother with this. I'll watch the rest later."
Yeah, well, it does come back up. I mean, people do seem to be patient with it, but oops, I forgot to save that. Just when we get Ruhef in here, again, we were trying to sort of cycle things through. So, did he pop in? I just sent him the thing again. But yeah, I'm curious to hear what he has to say. But damn, I wish I knew what to do about this.
Yeah, we're going again. We're back online.
Oh yeah, it's back to life.
Well, D was talking, and then I know, as I say, when Ruhef gets here, let's sort of give him a chance to make his point.
The last thing was that he, if the argument is brought to him, then he will just evade it.
Yeah, no, I was commenting on that. Dave S was saying that TE accused Dave S of strawmanning him, but how could Dave S possibly have done that when what he was saying is, I don't know quite what your argument is, so maybe it's these, you know, and then he laid out certain arguments. So he never made any claim that TE was saying these things. He was saying, is this what you're saying in essence? So how can that be a straw man?
The amount of times I use the word interpretation as well should probably give you a clue that not this is his argument, you know. And I put, for one of them, I said reformulated argument as an annotation. I put, you know, I couldn't have made it any clearer that, you know, that his original argument wasn't an argument. First of all, it's not any form of inductive, deductive, or abductive argument. Okay. So I was saying, strictly speaking, it's not any of these. But if we interpret it as this, then it's this. If we interpret it as this, then it's this. If we interpret it as this, then it's this. And yeah, the problem I have, I expected it the first time. I wasn't expecting it the second time. So when I said in the first one, look, you can say I'm wrong. You know, I'm happy to say I'm not inside your head. I can't make sense of your incoherent gibberish. So I'm going to do my best to formulate what I think you're trying to say into this argument, and then respond to that. And then Hogtie was in the chat, in the responding to Dave S 3-hour hangout, was saying the true empiricism was saying that no, Dave knows what I'm saying. He's just playing dumb, but he knows what I'm saying. And then Hogtie pointed out, well, was it the first argument, the second argument, or the third argument I presented? Because I presented 3 different formulations of it. And so I was expecting him to call straw man because I used those. I wasn't expecting it this time. I was expecting it the first time when I said the different arguments. And I said, at this time I tried to make it as clear as possible to say that these are interpretations of his argument. If we interpret this, but like I say, I don't think he had anything to offer other than, you know, we can't give an account.
Effectively, what you were saying is, if this, therefore that.
Well, I think you've been quite constructive to offer him 3 different angles of attack on offering his argument, just this straightforward deductive, abductive, and inductive. And I'm not sure. Come on.
I was going to say, I think it was Daryl. I can't remember. It might have been Daryl, so I gave him credit. If it's not, then I'm sorry. But he said, let's pray William Lane Craig doesn't get hold of my abductive argument, because that would be lethal. Because it's a well formulated argument. It's completely what you should be arguing if it's abductive, I would say. So if you're saying it's abductive, it's the best prior probability and the best explanatory power. The problem is he can't give an account of how intelligence is involved in the process. All he says, the mechanism is intelligence, and you probe him on that, and that's all he'll say. Is just, we've observed the known cause. We're based on what we know of intelligence creating these things and whatever. Basically we know his stock phrase, but then you ask him, okay, what exactly is this intelligence doing? How exactly is it involved in the process? And then we get into can hands think and all that bollocks, to be honest. And he can't defend the prior probability either. Now, Antonio tried his best to say, well, why can't we interpret, human artifacts as giving inductive support for non-human artifacts? If that answer isn't immediately obvious, then I don't know what to say to you. But that's the abductive argument. That's abductive reasoning made explicit to say, look, we have prior probabilities, explanatory powers of each hypothesis. Intelligent design has high prior probability and explanatory power. Evolution has neither, therefore it should be accepted as the most or best explanation, inference to best explanation. And I point out, it's not. It just simply isn't. It simply doesn't have what it claims to have. But yeah, how to be honest, I don't know what I was expecting him to say in response to that, because obviously I wasn't expecting him to call straw man, because like I say, I try to make it as clear as possible to say these are interpretations of this argument, because it's like I say, it's just a collection of independent assertions.
Prior probabilities. Remind me, Dave, what that was.
What was that? Sorry.
You said prior probabilities.
Prior probability. So basically, given our background knowledge, so ignoring the specific evidence of what we're talking about. So I'll use the example of imagine you wake up one morning with spots all over your face, and you go, okay, what's the prior probability? So the intrinsic probability that these are chickenpox. So it's the amount of people who have chickenpox divided by the total number of people in the population. That's your prior probability. So that's like, I don't know, 1%. Whereas, let's say smallpox, now assuming smallpox hasn't been eradicated, which kind of defeats the point of the argument, but say 1 in a million people. So your prior probability would be 1 in a million. And then the explanatory power of the hypothesis is, how often do we expect to see your symptoms given each of these cases? So let's say 75% of the time that people with chickenpox have your symptoms, and 85% of the time it's smallpox. Okay, so then you can work this out in a Bayesian way to say that you're more likely to have chickenpox, even though the explanatory power is higher for smallpox. It looks more like smallpox, given the sheer amount of people that have smallpox is infinitesimal. The posterior, or the sort of once you've calculated this, you realise that you're more likely to have chickenpox because of the probability, the prior probability being so much higher. But if you're interested in this, it's my I think second resurrection of Jesus video, which explains where inspiring philosophy goes wrong when we only talk about explanatory powers of hypotheses, which is the part of the problem I was talking to my girlfriend about was about that I kind of assume or hope that people have watched every single minute of every single my video, and so they understand what I'm trying to say when I talk about these things. And people don't do that. People may have watched my video. Even my girlfriend just said, even I don't. So and the thing is, it's not that I expect people to do that. It'd be great if they did. Don't get me wrong, but when I talk about these things, people just go, well, he sounds like he knows what he's talking about, so let's go along with it. Whereas what I hope they do is say, oh yeah, I remember him talking about the whole resurrection thing, and then going through that and saying, okay, this is clearly what he's talking about. So I might have to do another, or to put it simply, video in which I point out what abductive reasoning is, and then use the example of smallpox and chickenpox or something like that. But like I say, there's only so simple I can make it that it's just obvious that true empiricism doesn't want to engage. It's not that I don't think it's the case that I think at the moment maybe he can't, maybe he doesn't understand it, but then if I explain it in the simplest possible terms, he has absolutely no excuse then.
Well, he has the issue with Ronnie is when he doesn't understand something and then you explain it to him on the level that is clearly necessary, and we've seen him had this happen like multiple times where he just views it as condescension, right? So if you it's this catch-22 where he clearly doesn't understand what you're saying, and then once you get to the level once you bring it down to the level where he can understand, he views it as condescension because you have to explain it at a child's level, unfortunately.
And yeah,
Which is a shame.
it's this he's at this dangerous level of I'm going to use the word knowledge very loosely, but it's this dangerous level in which he thinks, but it's the Dunning-Kruger, in which he thinks he knows a lot more than he does. And the thing is, the problem is that he's not factually wrong. Okay, Sam and Fiona and other people, Steve, Hogtie, a lot of people have pointed out where he's factually wrong. For me, he's fractally wrong. He doesn't even know how wrong he is. He's not even wrong at times. In that, even if he was right, which he's not, when we say something is the best scientific explanation, that's different to the best explanation, period.
Yeah.
And so
it's potato, Dave.
What was that? Sorry, Fiona?
I said he's not even wrong. It's potato.
I mean,
Yes.
it's this fractal wrongness where, you know, it's where it's almost, it's like, where do you begin, right? Like, where do we begin with this? Because he's just, I think the issue is he approaches everything in just the completely wrong way. It's in the approach, right? So, you know, he'll go in with this headstrong approach. He has two errors when it comes to the way that I see it, right? This is my perception. You guys can disagree or agree with me, but it seems like he has two key issues when he goes into tackling a biological problem related to evolution. One, he goes in with, you know, not considering, you know, whatever hypothesis on its own terms. He goes in going, how do I, how is this dishonest? How is this not, you know, being represented fairly? And then two, he goes in without being able to arm himself with the necessary frame of thought to understand the topic.
And his only strategy for arming himself, and I know he doesn't like this accusation and he would deny it, but it's, well, there's nothing wrong with searching the web. There's nothing wrong with using Google. I find it weird when the evangelicals will say, oh, you're going to Google it now. You're going to Google it now. Well, of course. Why would you not? If you want to know the truth, not that Google's a source of truth, but I mean, you want to reach out. You want to use the tools that are available, and a search engine's a great start. And then you go and you actually look into those things. The thing I find just super weird about, like he does it secretly, right? He doesn't want to admit that he Googled it or he went to a creationist website and got this information. I would love somebody to find out where he picked up the phrase abductive reasoning. He certainly doesn't know what it means, but somehow he connected the logic behind any sort of ID argument. Any argument supporting ID, he connects that to this abductive reasoning. And of course, most of us have heard of deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning, but abductive is this sexy, glitzy new term that he gets to teach us all about. It is in his sort of teacher role. And of course, people will ask him, they'll say, well, what is abductive reasoning? And when he goes to explain what is abductive reasoning, he will use an example like, well, suppose that you've got a cough or a fever, and you know, you've got these symptoms for days, and your best guess is that it's influenza or the flu, but you're not completely certain. This is an example of abductive reasoning. This is right. This is the example he always uses. He never describes what abductive reasoning is or gives you a working definition for it, but instead he gives you this example of, well, maybe you've got the flu, but you're not certain. And it's a web page that is examples of abductive, you know, it's study.com, abductive reasoning definition and examples, right? But does he actually know what abductive reasoning is? I don't see any evidence of that at all.
Well,
in Dave's example here, he gave an example where he's saying about how you look at prior probabilities. There has to be some sort of theory that you're appealing to.
But yeah, I mean, I think you just hit the nail on the head there, Hogtie. Right, like nothing about what he just said. You know, if he outlines the whole, oh, you have the flu, you know, that can be both equally inductive or abductive. It's about how you frame the inference, right? Like that's kind of the secret sauce to it. Is, you know, are you going through with this Bayesian, you know, this Bayesian type of inference? I'm just going to use that as a phrase. It frustrates me because I try to be very careful if I bring up anything that is remotely complex, because I don't want to make a fool of myself, but I also want people to understand. So I need to make sure that I understand it, and just this ability to just walk headlong into complex topics. In some ways, I admire it, because I wish that I was still that foolhardy. But on the other hand, it is endlessly frustrating to listen to.
Well, here's the other aspect to this.
Hang on, the problem with Google is that you start off Googling something, then you go to another search engine, then you go to the library, and before you know it, you're buying books.
Tell me about it. You should see my house.
I was just going to say that's what happens to Jade.
Yeah.
I think the difficulty is that there is this egocentric problem he's got where he doesn't want to admit to looking at Google, or he just wants to effectively bluff his way through these things. And I think that sometimes when you see one of his comments and he types it out, and then you're like, no, sorry, no, that kind of thing, and then he gets really annoyed at you for it because you pointed out that he didn't actually know it. Whereas if he'd have gone and double checked, I mean, Fiona knows an awful lot about molecular biology. Fiona, how many times have you, wanted to make a claim but you thought, let me just go and check that I've got that right because it's been a while since I remember doing this. Let me just go and check and just double make sure. How often do you do that?
All the time. All the time.
And I do the same. It's like, okay, I remember something in the Bible about something. Let me just go and double check that I've got the phrasing right, or get the bit, because I might have the verse in the piece that I'm thinking of, but let me just double check the verses before and after it to make sure it's in the context that I think it is. Let me just double check. But I do this because I want to be understood and I want to make sure that I'm right on this. I don't see the same thing from Ronnie or many other people for that matter.
I wanted to point out, I've watched that abductive thing develop. Ronnie was in a Hangout some time ago with someone, and he was explaining that he was using a deductive argument. And the person said, no, you're using an abductive argument. And that's where it began. I don't think he ever looked. I don't remember who it was. If I really rack my brain, I might find out. But I remember thinking at that moment, oh, Ronnie's got a new word. And sure enough, since then he's used abductive, but I don't think he ever looked it up. I think he just said, oh, that's an abductive argument, so I'm going to now always say I have an abductive argument.
And funnily enough, that's what Dreadnought was mentioning earlier, where something came up and immediately a day or something later, bam, there it was being reused.
Yeah, it's fairly common. I know Dreadnought tries to sort of seed them with these things. He'll deliberately say something to see how long it takes for them to pick it up.
Yeah, Sam said that he wasn't going to put money on it.
I heard that he picked up tumorigenicity from me, and that wasn't even on purpose. Someone said that he said it in a Hangout recently, and the only person
shouting from underneath the bed.
Shouting from the bed, doubling down. He loves the phrase. He loves the phrase "doubling down." Now he uses it so much.
Oh yeah.
And he doesn't know what it means either. So what's really weird about it is that he doesn't get, like when people point it out and say, "Oh, he made a mistake. We told him," and then he doubled down. But now he just says doubling down just to sort of mean generically wrong about something, and it's not. He picks up a lot of these phrases.
He's never gambled before?
Yeah, I don't think he knows what it means.
Gambling, and I know what that is.
It's not only that, but they seem to lack an understanding of how you get words from the context. I mean, even when I was a little kid, I think that's the same with all children. You learn words from the context in which they're used, and sometimes you get them riotously wrong, and all the adult starts laughing. But we understand a word, even if we've never heard a word before. We have a general idea of what it means because of the context it's being used in, and some of these folks seem to lack that understanding.
Let me use that as a segue, because as I typed the side chat a moment ago, let's not burn off too much airtime on Ronnie, because
can we slag off a bit about Bell?
We can do, Well, because the thing is, like I say, the future will be filled with much more material of it just seems like we're at a time where there's so few there are so few creationists that they're sort of willing to be the punching bag, like this, tough it out, right? That they tend to do their thing for a while and then they leave, and there's only a few that sort of stick with. So I think Ronnie gets sort of an undue amount of airtime. It's funny that he interprets this to mean that he's being taken seriously, which is one thing. How often can you just sit there and go, oh my God, you can't take the guy seriously? Did you see that crazy thing he did the other day? Oh, you can't take the guy seriously. He goes, wow, look at all these people taking me seriously. But I did want to mention about the thing about not, again, I was blocked by somebody about not getting words. So I was in Antonio's Hangout. I wonder if we can maybe have a thought for Antonio here. As I said in Steve's Hangout, I like that Antonio is somebody who steps up and says, let's just have discussions, and like a really simple rule discussion, let the person finish making their point. Is that too hard to do? You know, G-Man and Darwin's Deity are two people who are pathologically incapable of letting somebody finish their point. G-Man perhaps because of poor impulse control and a lack of attention span, and Darwin's Deity obviously for other reasons because he can actually listen when he wants to. But in that Hangout, Van was talking about this earlier, where Van had said, oh, you're talking to me now. And then Dee Dee had said, oh, well, have you stopped being a troll? And I laughed and said, oh, have you stopped beating your wife? Well, there was another evangelical in the room. I've never met this other fellow before. I don't even remember his name. But he immediately put me on ignore in the Hangout. And I didn't even notice it. People told me afterwards that no, he'd put you on ignore. Then when I went back and listened to the rest of Antonio's Hangout again, I heard that he was talking and stuff, but then I couldn't hear what he was saying because he put me on ignore, so I can't hear what he's saying. Why a guy would do that, I don't know. But his reason, and you can hear it when you listen to the things I couldn't hear, because as I say, he put me on ignore, he was really upset. Well, that guy shouldn't have even brought his wife into it. Like what are you doing? You don't mention another man's wife. It's like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't even know that Dee Dee, or care that Dee Dee is married or has ever been married or has ever been accused. Like, that's such a common phrase, have you stopped beating your wife? People know what it refers to. And how socially inept can you be to not recognize these regular idioms? But like I say, let's not spend too much time.
I kind of disagree with you there because before I joined this community, I didn't know that phrase.
Oh, really?
It's the most common example used for a loaded question.
Yeah. Well, he's American. It's certainly part of their language. He should be more familiar with it. But the point is, if you're unsure what somebody means, you don't just reach over and then hit the button. Well, I'm going to ignore that person because he shouldn't even mention this other guy's wife. Like, you can't figure it out from context what was going on there. Like, come on.
Well, it's this weird defensive-ness that seems to permeate, that fundamentalist type of attitude.
It's not just noticing the context, but being completely unwilling to double check to say, what do you mean by that? Don't you think that's a bit insulting? At which point you would have said, no, I wasn't being insulting. I was saying it's a loaded question, and that's what that phrase means.
Yeah, there's no benefit of the doubt. There's simply no benefit of the doubt to be extended to non-believers. Non-believers, including anybody who is not a radical evangelical. Certainly the Catholics, certain people like that. You just don't ever extend to somebody the benefit of the doubt. I would like to talk a little bit about the bias in the community, about the constant accusations of bias. I was briefly, I don't want to say really angry, but certainly expressive with Antonio about my frustration that it seemed odd that G-Man was allowed to come in the room and interrupt other people, in that case it was me, making a legitimate point on a sincere and serious topic, just so that G-Man could say of Phony Beetle Maniacs that Gary Phony Beetle Maniacs that he's not a real Christian. He's actually an atheist. Because G-Man's a brother in Christ, he is allowed to interrupt the conversation, and specifically for such an offensive, insulting thing. And there's no consequences for it, and I was a little upset with Antonio for allowing that to happen. So I was hoping we could talk a little bit about this bias thing that, well, that's a two-way street, these phrases these guys use. Well, that's a two-way street. Well, that goes both ways. All these sort of weird, like, oh, it's all parallel. And yet when you're in their Hangouts, how it is just so clear that, like, the non-believers or the outsiders just don't get in. It's definitely a one-way street. And also, if we can mention... lately we've had a problem. Hopefully the problems with sniping's gone away, but now we have a problem with what I hope people refer to as suicide bombing of Hangouts. Right? We had Antonio running a perfectly fine Hangout, and then G-Man coming in and just setting off his suicide vest and destroying the Hangout. And then a couple days later, Dee Dee comes in, and same thing, just absolutely explodes and wipes out the Hangout entirely, not just picking off people one at a time. So those are just suggested topics, but like I said, let's not just waste our airtime.
Yeah, I think we need to discuss how stupid Matt Bell is and how stupid Darwin's Deity is.
Well,
I think there's a lot of material there.
Well, Hogtie, I had a little anecdote of an exchange that I had earlier today on, of all people's threads, MK. Brandon, the ID proponent, everyone's favorite obscurantist. Jesus, are you beating the shit out of your keyboard? I can. He linked some, he made some quackish remark about, like exercise has been proven to, shrink the tumor, a cancer tumor, and
has he been listening to? Has he been listening to Tommy Hall?
I don't know. And then he also said that it helped curb, it helped curb the side effects of chemo. And I was like, well, the last time that I've read the NCI, the National Cancer Institute, I'd read their website on physical activity, and I linked it. I said that while it does help your psychological well-being, right, which makes sense, right? You get healthier, you feel better, you get endorphins from, from working out, et cetera, right? Like, something that I'd still recommend if you can exercise, right? That's what they say, and I go, I'd be interested. Is like to my knowledge, which you're saying hasn't been demonstrated yet. And then he went on, he then suggested that, of course, because it's governmentally funded, that of course it's the government giving health advice, which is not what the NCI is. It's a research. It's like the cancer subdivision of the NIH, right? So it's a research funding thing, and they also provide citations. And then he just adamantly refused to provide any citations. He was like, "Oh, I read on the internet. You can look it up for yourself." I was like, and it was weird because it was out of the blue. What I had literally said is, I don't think those claims have been demonstrated from the last time that I read this, fact sheet from the National Cancer Institute. I mean, I don't understand what this intrinsic defensiveness is. It's quite frustrating, to be honest.
Oh, Brandon is kind of. We're talking about Brandon Pistachio, that guy.
Pistachio.
Yeah, that isn't he the one that's really good for the sophistry? Like he builds.
He's very good at. He's very good at it, and it's frustrating because literally all I was asking is, hey, if you've got a resource for this, I'd love to hear it. I literally said that. I said, if you've actually got something that says that, I'd be fascinated by it, but I'm just not. I didn't say it in these words, but I'll say it in these words now. It sounded like pure bullshit.
Was this under the? This was under the link about chemotherapy, right?
Yeah, it was one of MK's posts, and it popped up on my feed because I do follow MK, but also I think JD commented on it. I want to say. And so it popped, like whatever their algorithm is, it popped up.
Right. But what I wanted to say is what I found interesting is that Tommy then shared that with the comment, "I'm surprised they allowed this to be published." Or something similar. Yeah. And I felt like commenting, but I didn't feel it was worth it. But I don't, oh my goodness. It's such a conspiracy-minded mindset to think that why wouldn't they publish it? The risks of chemotherapy are well known. If you've ever known someone who's gone through chemo, the doctors will sit down and explain it to them carefully. This is why some people opt out of chemo. They would rather take their chances with other things. They would rather, in some cases it's, we suggest chemo and they decide, no, we'd rather not. Or they'd rather just die feeling better rather than going through the hell of chemotherapy. Doctors explain it carefully.
It's the informed consent, isn't it? Informed consent.
Yes.
Well, I do think there's
all the knowledge.
If you're not healthy enough, they'll try to advise you against it.
Yes.
There is a view, of course, that the American government is in bed with Big Pharma, and that these government organizations that fund research fund and deal with research findings only that support the efforts of big pharma.
But even then, that would be the FDA. It wouldn't be the NIH or the NCI. That's the funniest thing. Is yes, there is bullshit lobbying that affects the American health system.
Yeah.
It's the FDA. It's the FDA in Congress, right?
Yeah, but also keep in mind there are other countries. I understand that Americans in particular have problems with this concept. There are other countries on the face of the planet, including mine, that every time somebody gets sick, each what people. Okay, I got to touch on this real briefly.
Now the Hangout belongs to me.
all your Hangouts belong to us.
Oh, darn it! You said it before I could.
Wait, what happened to Hogtie?
Hogtie obviously had something with his family, so
yeah.
So I guess we're going off air then.
No.
He just left group chat.
Yeah, he's not actually in there.
Oh.
We're gonna need someone to drop. Jack, if you can drop, we can let you back in. Or drag.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
I'll broadcast Jack.
Okay.
But no, like that's the funniest thing is if you want to get conspiratorial about it, like because it's not the NIH, it's the FDA. You know, that's the corrupt institution. But
yeah.
Like, come on, I know your conspiracy better than you do.
Given that Hogtie's not in, nobody join, please, because he needs to get back in.
Yeah, just fair warning to anyone who joins. I know that I have mods. I think Cliff has mods also.
I've got mods as well.
Oh, and Rumpus, we will kick you on site. It's nothing personal. We're just waiting. We need a spot open for Hogtie.
Yeah. Yeah, so don't tempt us.
Well, this is one of the reasons that conspiracy theories drive me up the wall, is because, I mean, some of what they say, but not all conspiracies, but a few of them, that there's kind of a hint of truth to the very beginning of them, but they make up these conspiracy theories get so carried away that they actually detract from what we should be genuinely looking at, like the things you just mentioned, Sam. What we end up doing is laughing about the idiotic, crazy things they say, instead of looking at, okay, where did this rumor kind of start from? Let's get to the very bottom of it. Yeah, there's a hint of truth in that. Let's have a look at that. And that's why they're like,
Jade, among other people.
If you're listening to this, Hogtie, you need to hurry up and get in.
Yeah.
Or we'll go off here.
Well, Jade and I, and among others, I don't remember who exactly was in it, we had a hangout, and we talked about how, and this is actually a fact, is that the sugar lobby, like, directly influenced the outcome of different studies to say that sugar wasn't as bad as it actually is. I mean, and none of this is conspiracy. Like, there's a great documentary called Fed Up that talks about this, and they actually go through the studies, right? And it's there's actual stuff that goes on where you get powerful people and a corrupt system, and bad things happen. You don't need to invoke these magical plans in order.
Look at the tobacco companies. They're still.
Well, I was just gonna mention it. I don't remember if it was a movie or a miniseries that starred James Garner. It was called Barbarians at the Gate. Does anybody remember that?
I've heard of it.
Okay, it's actually pretty good because they Garner plays a guy who works for the tobacco industry, and they're trying to sell this new smokeless tobacco, which didn't work at all. The thing turned out to be a dud. But it just shows you how they do their lobbying. And at one point, they're trying to get smoking into a movie that takes place in outer space. And the guy goes, but you can't have smoking in a spaceship because, and they go, oh, that's no problem. We'll just have them insert a phrase in there saying, aren't you glad we discovered the thus and such so that we can smoke in outer space? Oh, but, it's a really good movie showing the power and the way these people work.
Yeah.
What I was also going to say is that, if Big Pharma was so monolithic and powerful and wanting to keep their keep everything within their little space. Why are they opening their libraries to some smaller groups, including nonprofit groups, who are now looking for cures for rare diseases? And this was in last week's Nature, or the week before, I forget. And I actually, during a lull in one of Steve's Hangouts, and everybody was bored, I pulled out Nature and I actually read about it and talked about it, because I think it's really cool. There's this group, and they've been working on things like sleeping sickness, and because there's a small,